Guys, welcome to Gradvine's YouTube live. Again, we're trying to keep it as regular as possible as admission seasons kick in. We're going to make this more of a regular affair because I'm sure it's going to help a lot of our subscribers. Next time, I'll go live on my LinkedIn also, and that'll help my audience there as well. Of course, this is an Ask Us Anything or it's just one person, so an Ask Me Anything session. So all you have to do is type in your questions in the comment box, and I'd be happy to answer all of your questions with regards to a master's abroad and undergrad abroad, general career guidance, and rest assured, like with all of Gradvine sessions, it will be unbiased guidance. We won't try and sell you anything. If we think that you shouldn't do something, we tell you straight up, even if that makes you dislike us. But even when we say no, we give you an alternate solution in terms of what makes sense. The planned duration of this live will be between about 30 and 40 minutes. That's what I intended to be. And like with all of our lives, I mean, most of them at least, we are not able to cover all of your questions by the end of it, right? So in case we are not able to cover your questions, then please don't hesitate to schedule a free consultation call on our website or using the link that my colleague will keep putting in the chat box. But it's simple enough. Just Google Gradvine, hit the first link, Gradvine, and you will be able to schedule a free consultation call on the website. And irrespective, I will try my best to answer as many of your questions as possible, right? So you can keep them coming, and I see a bunch of questions coming through already. There's always a little bit of a delay. I wonder if it's because I think there's a little bit of a lag from the time when we start the live to when it actually shows up on your screens. So that's why. But yeah, we're getting a lot of questions in already. Let me get to them straight away then. Right. How do I land MNC internships? I mean, honestly, you can apply online. If it's usually a good college, then a lot of them do on-campus recruitments. I don't know what the recruitment scene is here, because I believe that even everybody talks about a US recession, but the job market is not great in India either at this point in time, right? So yeah, I don't know if they're coming to campus. That's your best way, and that's the most legit sort of internships that admissions committees will value. But otherwise, if there's any openings online, that's the only way you can apply, right? I know it's very, very difficult with MNCs and very structured companies. They're not very open and flexible in terms of how you're going to go about it. MS and CSE in US versus Germany, which is the best? Look, in terms of sheer job opportunities, no country is going to beat the US within tech, right? Not just computer science. Computer science, without doubt, it's the best, because all of your major, CS technology, most cutting edge products and platforms are coming from the US. Therefore, the demand for highly skilled engineers is always going to be higher, right? In terms of your growth, learning, the edge that it gives your career, your vertical growth, in terms of you staying at the top of your skill set, that's going to be the best, no doubt about it. Germany is a good economy as well, but it simply can't compete with the US in terms of job opportunities. But Germany is cheaper, right? In fact, at public universities, it's free education. A tuition fee will be, even if you have to pay tuition, it will be less than half of what you pay in the US. So that is the case, but your starting salaries are going to be lower in Germany, and you definitely have to learn the language. You need at least a B2 level proficiency by the time you start for you to have any sort of shot at getting a job. Yeah, each has its pros and cons, but I think definitively if you're looking for a master's in computer science, the US is your better bet. Is visa window open for the US? I am wanting to apply for a master's. I'm waiting for the sanction of loan. Visa, yeah, they will still open up, I think, another last bunch of slots in the last moment in the first half of August or the middle of August. It depends on your start date. If the university can give you a little bit of leeway to join after the orientation or maybe 2-3 days after the classes start, then it's fine. The thing with the US visa is that you will get it quickly, right? If you're approved, getting it is very, very fast, but getting the slot is the problem. You can always apply for a slot that is later in the year, even after your program start date, and then apply for an emergency slot so that it can be preponed. That works for a lot of people. It is late, it is tight, but I still think you can make it. Is it okay to give only IELTS for USA? Look, in terms of English proficiency, pretty much every university in the US right now is taking both the IELTS and the TOEFL, and it's also taking another exam called Duolingo, which is cheaper, which is easier also. Again, I've not taken Duolingo, so I can't say it, but they say it's easier. It's cheaper. Score reporting is free, so they take Duolingo also. You can take it. But to answer your question, is it only IELTS? Then are you talking not taking the GRE? What I have seen, and this might make a few of you happy and a few of you sad, it looks like a lot of universities are going to maintain the same status that they did the last couple of years in terms of keeping the GRE optional. So I think even this year, there's going to be a good bunch of university where the GRE won't be required or will be optional, which you can apply to. That being said, having a GRE score is always an advantage when you're looking at US as your target country. Is the MSIM at UWash reputed? Also, in which tier does the UWash MSIM fall? It's a top tier program. I would say UC Berkeley, Carnegie Mellon, UWash. These would be my top three. And in fact, a lot of people in previous years through us who've gotten into both Carnegie Mellon and UWash, a good chunk of them end up picking UWash because they like the curriculum more. It works out cheaper. Starting salaries, give or take a little bit, are about the same. And it's in a terrific location in Seattle, right? So, that's why I would say UWash is a top drawer program. Absolutely fantastic, especially if you want a less technical MIS program. MEM at USC versus NCSU, I would have to say NCSU because it's going to work out cheaper than USC. Location-wise, it's not a huge compromise. There's a misconception that I don't know why North Carolina is such an underrated location. It's in a region known as the Research Triangle Park, NCSU. So location-wise, in terms of jobs, it is outstanding. It will work out marginally, in fact, quite a bit cheaper than USC, and the curriculum is a lot more flexible. USC is more heavy towards operations manufacturing. NCSU can be molded in any which way possible, right? So overall, between the two, I think there's only advantages with NCSU. Even though it's a newer program, I would recommend it a little higher. All right. The next question. Now I forgot to highlight the questions. Oh, my bad. All right. For some reason, I messed up my GRE and got a 160 quant and 150 verbal. There is no question in this. So, I mean, if you can ask me the question, it's fine. But again, if I have to give you a little bit of advice, even with a 310 boss, go ahead and apply. We are seeing that already the GRE is not a very important factor in admissions. Post the pandemic, it's getting less and less important, right? Your GPA, your technical projects are far more important. This year, and you can see the video we're going to put out with the student is going to come out on our YouTube soon. We had a candidate with a 314 on the GRE, make it to Cornell and Purdue for computer science. Incredibly competitive programs. And that's not even the best part. He got into Virginia Tech, fully funded with a $2,700 monthly stipend. So by the time he graduates from the program, he's going to have more money than he spent, right? And he had a 314 on the GRE. The rest of the profile was terrific, right? But what does that tell you? That the GRE is not as important. So don't break your head and treat it like an entrance exam. I tell so many candidates who are, waiting to start their process only after the GRE that they're making a mistake. You're losing out on such valuable time to research university, shortlist them, work on your recommendation letters, get your structure and strategy for the SOP. So the GRE is not even such an important factor in the application. So don't worry about it. Even with the 310, if the rest of your profile is good, you're fine. Don't obsess over the GRE and stop everything for that one exam. It is only the third or even fourth most important thing in your application at this point in time. And from what I'm seeing, a lot of universities may not even require it, right? So 310 is good. If you have that score, just start the process. You will be fine. NEU Boston MSCS versus U Chicago MSCS, who wins? If you're talking about the University of Chicago and not the University of Illinois at Chicago, you are comparing something that is there versus something that is here, right? I hope you can see the comparison. Not even in the same world. University of Chicago is on par with Ivy League schools. All right, I just lost the questions, guys. I'm trying my best to catch up with it. Once again, there are already tons of questions in. I may not be able to answer all your questions, but again, it's not due to a lack of effort. I promise for the next 40 minutes, I'll be talking non-stop, answering as many questions of yours. But if you can't, you can always schedule a free consultation call and get the same quality of advice on the call. If you don't get the same quality of advice, you can DM me on LinkedIn and tell me the call was bad and I will take care of it, right? But you can get one-on-one consultations and advice on that call. So if I'm not able to answer your questions, please go ahead and schedule it on www.gradvine.com. If not, just Google Gradvine and you'll find our entire multiple ways of reaching out to us. Is 310 a decent GRE score for MS and CS with a 9.4 CGPA and 2 years of work ex? See, I told you just now, right? Absolutely go ahead and apply. I'm going to say it again. We had somebody with a 314, Virginia Tech, not just a full scholarship, but a $2,700 stipend. So he's going to be paid every month, right? For joining the program. Cornell and Purdue computer science. had a very similar GPA as yours, right? He had a 9.1. You have an even higher GPA. So don't sit down and break your head. Start the applications after you finish everything. In the end, maybe 10-15 days before you want to apply, if you want to give another shot just to push it to a 315, 316 and make yourself feel better, it's fine. But otherwise, don't worry about the GRE that much. All right, I'm an aeronautical engineer, gold medalist. I work as a business development executive. That role I'm a little concerned about because I know business development means sales. Should I aim for 25 or 26 intake for MEM, considering the relevancy in work experience? Uh, I don't know how long you've been working. Okay, 24. So you're going to have about a year of work experience in business development. I'd say apply soon, my friend. If you are in business dev, I don't think it adds too much value to your profile overall, unless you can shift and get another job. But even that will be for only 1 year. I core sales, yes, in the SOP it can be spun in a certain way. We've done that for several candidates in the past. But for you yourself, I don't think it's going to be that valuable. All right. If the professor does not mention their current projects ongoing in their websites, and if we look at the recent publication, does these publications guarantee that they have these area funded? I'm trying to wrap my head around that question. I'll try again. If the professor does not mention their current projects ongoing in their websites, and if we look at their recent publication, do these publications guarantee these? Sorry, my friend, you'll have to rephrase that. I could not understand what you're trying to get to. All right, this is all right. PGP at ISB Hyderabad versus MEM in USA. If I want to get into product management, I am an embedded engineer with 2 years of experience. See, we help people with PGP at ISB with a great success rate. We help people with MEM in the US with a great success rate. Also, we take money from both people, right? So my answer is going to be unbiased. If you are looking at flexibility, a peace of mind, and if you make it to ISB, nothing like it, right? However, the problem is product management in India, even though there are, it's improving because of the startup scene especially, is not as evolved as the US, right? Still the best products are being developed in the US. So if you want that intellectual curiosity to be satisfied and the satisfaction of work to come in, then the US is still a better destination for which you'll have to do the MEM, right? But honestly, if I were you, the ISB PGP in Hyderabad just makes a lot more sense in terms of peace of mind. Even if you don't break into product management or don't get roles that are as exciting, it's a far safer bet because you're not dependent on a visa, right? I know it's expensive, but again, you get what you pay for. So it certainly makes a lot of sense. It depends on whether that intellectual curiosity is going to drive you to take that risk of being dependent on a visa and spending 70-80 lakh on the degree. So you'll have to take a call on that. It's a very personal decision. I would say apply to both because you cannot depend on just ISB PGP, right? Because that's the only one, and if it doesn't work out, you cannot wait to apply a little later. So I would recommend you attempt both, and depending on where you get in, you take the call, right? All right. Will UG college matter for MEM? Like, should I choose IPU, or is there no such problem with a private university? See, doesn't matter. I've had people from tier 3 private universities go to Cornell and Duke all the time, right? I've seen people from IITs get rejected, right? So it doesn't matter. It's where you build a profile. Of course, for some very niche programs, it matters, but large overall, if you maintain your GPA and you have a good profile overall, it does not matter. All right. Hi, I have a CGPA of 7.5, 3 years of work experience in SAP procurement. I'm planning to apply for MS program at UT Dallas. Do you have a chance without submitting a GRE score? I would say so, yeah. I think UT Dallas is something you can try. Honestly, I've had similar profiles get into better programs as well. For example, the University of Maryland at College Park is a better program, hands down. I've had even weaker profiles with a 6.8 GPA and 2 years of work experience get in. I've also had a very similar profile get into Purdue, right? So don't undersell yourself. UT Dallas is a good school, no doubt about it, but there are better SEM programs that you can attempt it. UT Dallas should be a fairly reliable bet for you, Alan. So go ahead, apply with confidence. All right, I have a 9.1 GPA, 2 years of experience in IT. By the time I joined the university, 2 research papers and a 7 in IELTS, will I be able to make it to Purdue and UC Berkeley for MS and CS? Again, in terms of your comparison, right, the likelihood of getting into Purdue is slightly more than a UC Berkeley. The reason being, if you look at computer science, you have the Holy Trinity first, right, which is MIT, Stanford, and Carnegie Mellon. These three are in one separate level. After that, immediately you have UT Austin and a UC Berkeley sitting. Purdue is still a little down the pecking order, I would say. It's a terrific program. It's a top 15 without a doubt. But in CS, the gulf between the top 3 and the top 5 is very high, and the gulf between the top 10 and 10 to 20 is very, very different, right? So Berkeley, definitely you should attempt. No reason why. In terms of hard numbers, you seem to have it all, especially if you have if the quality of your research and your projects are strong, you can absolutely push for it. But I cannot tell you with a great level of confidence that it will work out for sure. But something at Purdue or the level of Purdue should certainly work out, and we will apply to the UPenns, the Columbias, and the likes, right? Another one that I would strongly recommend that you look at is Texas A&M. It gives you essentially the same salaries for half the cost. The other advantage with Texas A&M, and look, I don't have any affiliation with the university. I wish a university at the level of Texas A&M wanted us to promote it, but it's a terrific school. If you get any sort of scholarship, right, $5,000, $3,000, $4,000, doesn't matter. And then after that, in your second semester, you get a TA or an RA. A lot of our students last year were charged in-state tuition. So for an already reasonable university, they were paying even lesser, right? And you're getting starting salaries that are on par with your UPenns and Columbias of the world. So it's a terrific school. But you have a great profile. We'd love to help you out with it. When you're applying to schools of this sort, any top tier schools, and a lot of the questions that you guys have been asking me are about top tier schools, which is wonderful, right? In the current US job market, don't go to a nonsense school. If you go to an ordinary university and then crib later that there are no jobs, then you have yourself to blame. Don't go to universities that have a tie-up. Don't undersell yourself and apply to universities just because they're seemingly cheaper. Going to the better university and investing there makes a lot more sense, because we are seeing students go to nonsense universities struggle more in terms of jobs, right? Even now, you'd have seen our YouTube videos, if you're watching this live, that the US might more, it's already is, and it's more likely going to go into a merit-based H-1B system, where there is not going to be room for people who are immigrating for the sake of immigrating, right? So 100% go to good universities, and for that you need a solid statement of purpose that is technically on point, right? So plan that. A lot is going to depend on your statement of purpose, what you choose to write in terms of projects. You can't include every project you feel like. It has to be in the narrative in terms of how it is in line with the long-term goal you're trying to convey, and it needs to be technically on point, right? So absolutely gun for these schools. Something at the level of Purdue for sure. You see Berkeley, you can push, but you will need solid application documents. So reach out to us. You can always schedule a free consultation on our website or using the link that my colleague is putting out here. All right, can you list a few universities that have high ROI for a master's in CS? I told you my favorite, even though it's a very challenging university to get into, Texas A&M, nothing beats it in terms of ROI, absolutely top-notch. Purdue is another, reasonably priced, great return on investment. You can also look at, if you're looking at slightly safer schools, because I want to give you those options. Something a little bit more mid-tier, you can look at SUNY Stony Brook. The State University of New York has Stony Brook. Gives you the same job opportunities in the heart of New York City as something like an NYU at a fraction of the cost. And SUNY Buffalo, if you're looking at something even safer, SUNY Buffalo is a terrific university in terms of great return on investment, reasonably priced, slightly more easy to get in. Starting salaries are pretty terrific because of its locational advantage. All right, let me go to the questions. It keeps swiping up. Guys, I request you not to spam your questions, because it's just repetitive. It just wastes everybody's time when I'm scrolling. It's a live session. Everybody gets equal time. I will try and answer as many. But if you put the same question 4 times and then I lose it and I have to scroll between them, we're just losing time when we can answer other questions. It might be useful for you also, right? So if I'm not able to answer your question, you schedule that free consultation. Nobody is going to shout at you or eat you up or stuff there, right? But please don't spam your questions so many times. It's inconvenient for me. It's inconvenient for everybody else listening also. I hope you understand. All right, I have to scroll for the questions. Other than USA and Germany, where should I look for MEM? I wouldn't look at MEM in Germany at all. Other than USA, look at Netherlands and Ireland. These two are better. Germany, no. MEM is not a German thing at all. MEM is not a European thing at all. MEM existed because they wanted a management degree that was STEM designated. As simple as that, right? Now, of course, MIM, MBA, everything is STEM designated. This was not the case 5-6 years ago, right? So other than USA, Netherlands, Ireland, even there, one university each. All right. Does university ranking matter more or course ranking matter more? Sustainability, transportation, and logistics at University of Buffalo. Is it worth it? Because all are aware of the university, but not the course. I would never go ahead and go into such a niche, first of all, right? If you're going into such a niche program, you will have only a very fixed set of niche roles that are available to you. And among the roles that are available, you should have a company that is willing to sponsor an H1B visa, right? Don't go into something that specific. You will suffer later and you will complain later as well, right? Buffalo is a good school. The reputation of the program matters more than reputation of the university, to answer the first part of your question. For example, if you look at MEM, Dartmouth is among the best in the world, right? In fact, after Stanford, it has the best return on investment and reputation and network and median salaries in all respects. Absolutely terrific program, without a doubt. Anybody will tell you this, but it is crap for anything else, right? It's not good compared to even cheaper universities which are non-Ivy League. So the reputation of the program matters a lot more. And that is to answer your question. But the program you're looking for, I would be very worried if I'm going into something that niche. You might get in, and it would be very easy for me to tell you that it is fantastic. I will help you with the application and I will get you in also. But 3 years later, you will suffer, right? That's what I mean by giving you unbiased advice. We are never here to sell you stuff. The plan you have, not good. These questions keeps. Lakshman is a very specific question. You can schedule a free consultation and we'll get to that. Do visa officers ask for salary slips in the visa interview? You'd be surprised to know that it is very rare for visa officers to ask any documentation, right? So don't carry a bunch of documents and keep shoving them into their face. They will only ask you what your salary was, and you need to be able to answer confidently. It's very rare that they will take documents and spend the time and reviewing it for you. It's very, very unlikely. All right. What do you suggest applying for a student with no prior work experience and wants to apply directly for a master's program, CS or an MSIS? Great question, Charit. For all of you listening in, don't apply to information systems programs without work experience, right? Because a lot of the top programs, it is very unlikely you will make it to the MSIS program without work experience, except University of Washington, which has an early career track, and Carnegie Mellon, which has a specific track, right? But you won't have enough options because MSIS programs prefer people with 1 to 2 to 3 years of work experience on average. Secondarily, by chance, even if you get into a university that's not very good, recruiters who are hiring information systems graduates expect that they have work experience because they're not taking them into really entry level roles, right? So it's a bad idea overall. So for your case, look at MSCS. If not, you can look at software engineering programs as well, Charit. But again, it depends on what undergrad department you come from. If it's CS, I would blindly just apply for a CS if you're interested in the field. But if you are from an ECE, then you can apply for a computer engineering instead, because applying to CS itself is a bad idea from a non-CS undergrad. So I hope that answers your question. If you want to understand something a little bit more specifically, you can always get your profile evaluated and we'll give you suggestions on the free call. There you go. Repeated question. Please don't do that. Yeshiva University versus University of South Missouri for data science and AI. My friend, don't go to these places. Like, Yeshiva is I don't know, it is some sort of a religiously affiliated university that has tie-ups with multiple consultancies. The University of South Missouri is also another one. Please don't go to places like this and later complain that there are no jobs there. They will say admission is guaranteed. They will say we will give you admission on the spot. You don't need an SOP. We will submit everything. Admission in 3 days. If anything is coming that easily to you, understand that in the long term, you are compromising, especially in the current job market and the way things are going to go in terms of merit-based admissions, which is going to be very good for Indian students going to good universities. It's going to be in your benefit. Don't go to places like this, right? Absolute nonsense. Terrible locations. No recruiter is going to come and recruit you. You're going to be searching for a consultancy which will put you on a contract job which has little or nothing to do with your coursework. The other problem is, just this year there's some university called Michigan Farmington or something, right, where the university did not exist. We've had consultancies tied up with them and students went for the last 3 or 4 years. They seemed very happy. Suddenly what this happened was that university was raided and shut down because there was no education happening there. It was just some single building where people were going to do part-time jobs. Don't make that mistake. Please don't. You will suffer in the future. All right. What if a candidate has a low GRE and a low GPA, but a terrific work experience and strong LOR, along with a GPA mentioning, SOP mentioning a GPA deficiency? I see low is relative, right? I don't know what your GPA is, right? If it's a 6.5, we can work with it. If it's a 5.5, there's nothing much that can be done, right? If it's a 7.5, honestly, it's not low at all, right? So you have to be a little bit more specific. If you're uncomfortable discussing that on a public platform, you can discuss that on the free consultation call. But answer is, if there is a low GPA, don't address it in the SOP because it comes up as an excuse. No admissions committee likes listening to excuses, and it's not good on your impression you're creating also by writing that my GPA was low because of XYZ reasons. The place you justify the lower GPA is in the recommendation letter. So if you talk about it in a recommendation letter, because for most Indian students at least, professors don't draft the recommendation letters. You have to write it on your own and they sign off on it, right? You can write about the reason for the low GPA and the professor's endorsement that your academic aptitude is strong and that GPA is not a reflection of it and how you've applied those skills in the real world. Somebody else vouching for that is far better than you giving an excuse, right? So that's the application strategy we help you out with. It's just common sense. All the application materials need to come together and tell one compelling story. People just draft random LORs using chat GPT, SOP using something else. They start with a quote from Einstein and Mahatma Gandhi. You're wasting space and words without actually changing the game for yourself by thinking about it a little bit. We know this because we've seen SOPs that have worked for 8 years now for the top universities. We've looked at how some LORs help in some other ways. We've interacted extensively with admissions committees in terms of how they review applications, right? You see that we do webinars with Johns Hopkins, we do webinars with Tufts, we are going to do one with Purdue as well. So we interact with them, we see how they're speaking to students, and we know exactly what they want. You guys are doing it for the first time in your life, and most likely the last time. This is not something you need to keep doing repeatedly, hopefully, right? So that's why doing it right with the right advice is so very, very important. You need somebody who's done it so many times successfully so that you're getting that competitive edge with your application. And this is a simple tip: use that in your LOR. Don't write about it in the SOP. It comes off as an excuse and it's going to be a massive mistake. So instead of putting those two lines in the SOP, if you put it in the LOR, you yourself are doing yourself a great favor, right? So those are the kind of tips and advice that you need, especially when you're looking at top tier universities. All right, I'm worried if I should pursue MS in computer science and cybersecurity in the US because students have graduated even with experience and are not getting jobs. Don't do cybersecurity in the US. I've been like a broken tape recorder. I think there are people who are on our WhatsApp groups. By the way, you guys can join our WhatsApp group. We have a WhatsApp group for where I'm answering questions, my team is answering questions for computer science, MIS, BA, DS, MBA, whatever you wish. We have separate groups. You can join that. It's on our video descriptions, and my colleague will put the links to those WhatsApp groups. We're answering questions, right? But to come to the point, cybersecurity, I've said several times on that WhatsApp group, and I'm being very honest with you on several lives as well. Don't do cybersecurity because if cybersecurity is a niche where recruiters don't hire too many international candidates. If you have to get into cybersecurity roles, the companies have to get additional security clearances for you, which will never be given to candidates who are not American passport holders or are not American citizens. So don't go into those areas. In fact, even the visa has been a problem for cybersecurity programs. So don't do cybersecurity. That's why they're struggling for jobs. In the others, yes, the job market is challenging at this point in time. But after speaking to career services at universities and admissions committees, we emailed them to find out about this. And they're saying that the market is recovering already. But again, to tell you guys, I've done a video on this. You can check it out on YouTube in great detail. What is happening now is irrelevant to you. You are not going to start your master's program for another year. You are not going to graduate from that master's program and get into a job for 2.5 or 3 years later. So what the situation now is irrelevant, right? The people who are in this challenging job market at this point in time are people who started college in the boom post the pandemic, where people were being recruited for high salaries left, right, and center. The demand was incredible. That's when they started college, but they graduated only 2 years later when the market changed, right? So the US is a massive economy. It goes up, it goes down. It's a massive ship, right? You don't overturn it completely. It just keeps rocking here and there, right? It's not a small economy like in Europe or UK, which has been in a bad situation like the UK for the last 7, 8, 9 years, not recovering, right? The US is a massive beast. The world economy is dependent on the US economy at this point in time, so it is going to recover eventually. Even the most pessimistic outlooks are saying by the middle of 2025 the job market will recover. By then you won't even have started your master's degree, forget about graduating into the market, right? So now it is challenging, but that situation is not going to be there. And in fact, even now people who've been graduating at good programs, graduating from good programs, are getting jobs, right? So at this point in time, the situation now not relevant to something about 3 years later. All right. Which kinds of LORs are helpful, academic or professional, for a graduate without work experience for MS and CS programs? Look, for your case, I think the ideal mix would be 2 academic and 1 professional. The reason being, if you have less than about 1 year, 2 years of work experience, it's better you have 2 academic LORs, because that's where you spend most of your recent time, right? Secondarily, why I'm saying even get that 1 professional is because if you get 3 academic LORs, what happens is, it sort of is repetitive, right? Like within an academic setting, you do projects, you do internships, maybe you've done research papers, but after 2 LORs full of good content, what different is going to come out of the third LOR, right? It's going to be very repetitive elements. If you get that professional LOR from an internship, you can talk about, or the recommender in theory can talk about how you applied the concepts learned in classroom in the real world or the corporate world, which shows how intuitive you are and how you're a problem solver as an engineer, right? Which is important for pretty much every master's program at the end of the day. So I would recommend get 2 academic and 1 professional. It makes sense. SOP should be straightforward, documenting achievements or like framing a story. SOP, listen to this, guys, going to help all of you, and thank you for the wonderful question. This is going to be helpful, and I'll be doing an SOP masterclass in the middle or end of August for sure. I'll be telling you how you should go ahead and draft an SOP. There are 3 elements to an SOP. If these 3 elements are not there, then it is not a good SOP, however beautiful the English is. Number 1, your purpose or your goal. You have to be absolutely 100% clear, at least for the sake of the SOP, in terms of where and what you wish to be doing. So it has to be clear in terms of 2 things, which are function and domain. Function is your role. Do you want to become a software development engineer? Do you want to be a product manager? Right? Do you want to be a project manager or a program manager? Do you want to go into operations management? It has to be very, very clear. And the domain, right? Do you want to work in healthcare? Do you want to work in consumer products? Do you want to work in core research for public policy, for instance? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, right? But it has to be clear. The second part of the SOP, once the purpose is clear, it's a statement of purpose. A lot of people write SOPs, writing their stories and achievements without a purpose, gone. There itself is going to be rejected, right? Purpose has to be clear. It has to be technically correct. All the projects and internships and achievements that you're writing about should be in line with that purpose. You cannot put in projects and body of work that is not relevant to that goal, right? So if you're a computer scientist and then you've done something in MLAI, somewhere else you've done web development, somewhere else you've done cyber security, somewhere else you've done something else, you're writing everything else and you're writing a different goal, not going to work out. No matter how good the project is, it has to be in line with the goal. In fact, another approach, which is a little bit of cheating, maybe not the most right thing to do or the correct thing to do, is if the projects are strong in a particular area, the goal is framed so that the projects are put into the SOP. After you go to the university, you do something else. That's up to you. But the projects and internships you're writing about should be in line with that long-term goal. Finally, you have to summarize what skills you've gained through the experiences that you've had and what skills you're lacking from a technical standpoint that are preventing you from reaching that goal. You cannot write stuff about exposure and general stuff that I'm so thrilled to be studying here. No, what is that specific skill set that is relevant to that function and domain you want to perform in, that you want to pick up at the university? Is it a course? Is it a particular club? Is it research with a particular professor? Right? That specificity in terms of the third element, in terms of the skill set gaps you want to cover, has to be there. Absolutely, right? So that is what an SOP should be. It's not a story. It's not about your writing skills. It is an insight into who you are and where you want to be years down the line. Does a good CGPA in the US really matters? I think the question asked is, does the GPA matter in terms of your job search? Honestly, from what I've seen with pretty much every candidate, the GPA in your master's doesn't matter. It's about the subjects you have on your transcript, the university you're graduating from, and how well you go through the networking process. That's why, in fact, a lot of students out of the first 2 semesters realize that maintaining very high grades is not very, very important. So if you ask a master student also, they'll say, don't worry too much about the GPA, focus on the job search a lot more and the networking. Can I get an admit at the University of Washington for MSIM with a 7.5 GPA and 0 work experience with a decent profile? Challenging, my friend. Again, I don't know anything about your profile. You'll need a detailed evaluation for it to come through in terms of what you mean by a decent profile, in terms of your projects and your internships and which undergrad institution you come from also, right? That also will make a difference a little bit when you're in that 7.5-ish range. It's going to be challenging on the face of it. I don't know anything about you, but usually if you have no work experience, you want to get into the early career track. Most people had GPAs up in the mid eights or at least in the early eights. All right, I graduated last month preparing to give GRE. I have a CGPA of 7.64 and you're in the top 5 in the class. Any chances of Dartmouth, Purdue, Duke, Columbia? My GPA is less due to strict grading. Understandable. Again, I've had very, very similar profiles in past years. Make it to Duke reliably and Purdue as well. Columbia is not because of your GPA. It's not a GPA centric class, but it's been preferring people with work experience. So that by default, may not work out for you this time. Dartmouth is, look, the thing with Dartmouth is it's a class of 50, out of which they give maybe 20, 21 Indians the offer of admit, right? Last year, out of the 20, we had 12 or 13 from Gradvine. I think there are 2 or 3 on the wait list. I'm not sure if they converted, but 12 minimum, maybe that went up to 13 that were Indians, right? From what I understand, out of those 20 odd, about 11 or 12 were female and 9 were male. So so as an Indian male, you're competing for 9 spots. So nobody can say, right? I've had people with backlogs get in. I've had 9-pointers get rejected. So it's very fickle. But to answer your question, one of the top 5-7 programs might be possible, as long as your application materials are strong and your academic strength is coming through your recommendation letters, your resume, and your other documents. Right, I'm a little confused about the questions. All right, I think I got the right question. Yes. I'm working in financial operations with no coding experience. Does it make sense to do a master's in MIS? Will I have job opportunities of the master's since I have no prior experience in coding? It depends on what you define as coding. If you're working in financial operations, I'm sure Excel and SQL is something that you might be doing. Apart from that, if you're not doing even that, then it would be very, very surprising, right? So it can be conveyed in the same way. Specifically, if you're an engineer, right? And I don't know anything else about your profile. That's why, as much as we try to do good in this YouTube lives, your free consultation calls are far more easier because you can have a detailed 30-40 minute conversation about your coursework and your exact job description and stuff, right? So if you're an engineer and you're working in financial operations with any sort of number crunching and data management in an Excel sheet, you will be eligible for an MIS. It just has to be conveyed the right way in the statement of purpose, right? Will you have job opportunities after the masters because you don't have prior experience in coding? You still might. The reason being, the MIS program itself has core courses in database management systems, data structures, Java programming, and the likes, right? So it is used by a lot of people to move into coding roles from a non-coding background in the first place. So as long as you're okay picking up that skill, job opportunity should be fairly decent. But again, I don't know nothing about your, I don't know anything about your undergraduate institution and the specifics of your role. I'll be able to make a more qualified call on that free consultation once you schedule it with my team. Right, I have a 6.4 CGPA, undergrad in CS, IELTS of a 6.5, 7-month internship experience in management. My target programs would be CS, DSIS, or IT. Can you suggest me some good, safe universities? Do a generic shortlist because I don't know anything about the quality of your work experience, and you haven't even talked about a GRE score overall. I don't know which year you graduated. There's not enough context, so I cannot give you straight up safe universities overall, right? The other thing is CS and data science and IS and IT. IT, okay, IS and IT very similar, but CS highly competitive, right? For this sort of a profile, a top 50 would be extremely challenging. Data science, low GPA is still okay to an extent, but your research experience has to be solid. So what they value in terms of the degree is very, very different. If your research papers are strong, data science becomes a possibility. Information systems, your GPA is a little less important. Your work experience becomes far more important, right? For information systems, we've had good profiles or similar profiles crack a top 10, top 15 also. So it varies very, very greatly. What I'm more concerned about is your comparing programs that are very, very different, right? Secondarily, would you do an MIS after an undergrad in CS with very limited work experience? I wouldn't do it, right? Because like I said, the core courses, again, in terms of tech, DBMS, Java, you'd have done that in your undergrad already. Unless you're looking to shift from a CS to a product management role with 1-2 years of work experience, the MIS may not make sense for a CS grad in the first place. So you'll have to figure out all these things. CS, DS, and information systems are very different in terms of the expectation of what there is, what the admissions committee have in the profile to take you in. And DS is far more theoretical, research heavy. It's more core mathematics. If you're looking at more of the application side of data science, look at data analytics degrees, right? Those might make more sense if you're looking to break into the corporate sector without much interest in research overall. All right. I have a UG, BSc in 3 years, PG, Masters in Computer Applications, 5+ years experience in IT. If I apply with UG, some universities are not accepting a 3-year degree. So based on which degree I need to apply to get into top 50 in the US. If you have a PG, why are they not? Why is it a 3-year degree anymore? You have 3+2, right? Or a 3+1 at least. So the 3-year degree issue or the 16-year education issue is sorted. So maybe I misunderstood your question, but I don't think the 3-year degree should be a problem for you anymore. If you, again, based on your profile, I don't know what you did your BSc in. I'm assuming it's a BSc in computers. You can apply for information systems programs, or honestly, you can apply for a computer science straight up as well. Questions. I have BA with 65%, MBA from BHU, 8.57 GPA, 8 in IELTS, 312 in GRE. Do I stand a chance for business analytics from University of Michigan, Flint? First of all, the first university, don't apply. The third university, don't apply. Right? UNC Charlotte is fine. UT Dallas is fine. You'll have a decent enough shot from both of them. Those you can apply. I don't know which the last UNC is. Right? So there's UNC Charlotte, and which is decent, and there's UNC Chapel Hill, which is excellent. Right? Which is going to be very, very selective. But the first two, don't do it. Straight away, job opportunities are going to be a struggle. GRE is optional in top MEM programs. Confused whether to put efforts on giving a GRE or make profile better with additional courses or certifications before applying to universities. All right, you are a software engineer and you have 1 year of work experience. First of all, additional coursework or certifications make no difference in your likelihood of getting into universities. This is not me saying it. Of course, I have enough experience of seeing people have a ton of certifications not help them at all. But I've heard admissions committees themselves say on webinars stating that we don't value additional courses or certifications because it can be paid and gotten anywhere. The standard is not clear, right? So don't do it. It doesn't make any difference in terms of your likelihood of getting in. 100% the GRE is going to give you an advantage, right? Apart from the GRE, of course, your technical projects and your GPA are what are far more important in the profile. Then the GRE, additional courses or certifications don't make a difference at all in terms of your likelihood of getting it. All right, STEM MBA or MEM in the USA have 4 years of work experience. Should I choose MEM if I don't get into the top 25, 30 MBA programs? This is a very interesting question. And I was talking to a few folks from the, non-top 20 sort of programs, right? Not even top 30. I'm saying outside the top 20. MBAs are expensive, right? They're going to cost you 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 crores, at the very least. Depending on the job role that you're going into, I've heard from people that unless you're from a really top tier MBA program, and we help people getting into top tier MBA programs, right? UCLA, Anderson, CMU, Tepper, Chicago, Booth, Yale School of Management, Cornell. Every year we have people getting into these programs. So we help out with both programs. But unless you're getting into something at that level, a top 15, top 20 sort of university, the return on investment post in MBA is not making sense for a lot of people, especially if you want to break into the tech sector, if you want to break into program management, product management, or project management. the delta and starting salaries between MEM grads with experience and the same equivalent MBAs are between $10,000 to $15,000 on an average. But for that delta, you are paying twice the amount in tuition, right? Which makes it extremely difficult to justify. So again, I might be accused of promoting the MEM, but I don't gain or lose anything promoting one over the other, right? Whether you pay for the MBA, in fact, my consultation package for the MBA is higher. I make higher margins on that. MEM, we make lesser margins. But purely because you asked me the question, honestly, outside of the top 20, MBA programs, especially if you want to stay in tech and product and project management, are not making as much sense in terms of ROI at this point in time, right? But if you want to go into management consulting, if you want to break into core finance, if you want to go to core advertising, right, you want to stay away from the tech sector, then MEM won't take you there. You have to look at an MBA. So it depends on what you want to break into after you graduate. To do something to sort out the scroll skipping every time. Right, I'm going to take the last couple of questions, guys. It's nearly 5:50. Sorry again, not due to a lack of effort. We have tried to answer as many as possible, and I've been talking nonstop for about 50 minutes now. If you haven't had your question answered, I'm sorry. You can always schedule a free consultation call on our website. Of course, join our WhatsApp groups. We'll be there. I'll be answering the last couple of questions here before we wrap up this live. Join our WhatsApp group, schedule the free consultation call with my team. Rest assured, we will be giving you advice only in your interest, not to sell you stuff. Unlike other places which are always having tie-ups with universities and are trying to tell you and sell you the dream that this is the best place you can go to, right? It's going to benefit you in the long run in terms of going to the right university, giving it thought, and figuring out whether to go for a master's in a particular area is a good thing, right? Getting into cybersecurity programs, easy. Getting into aerospace programs, easy. Getting into the University of Wilmington at Flint or whatever that's called, very easy, right? You submit it in 2 days. Even we'll tell you guaranteed admit. I can make 2-3 lakhs if I tie up with a university. You will suffer without a job, right? So that is the basis of all our advice, and that's what you're going to get on the free consultation and on the WhatsApp group as well. All of this I'm doing because I'm still scrolling with the questions because people have spammed, guys. So let me try and figure it out. All right, this is important because this is a question that all of you will have. I think people are obsessed with WS evaluations for some reason this year. That's what I'm seeing on our WhatsApp groups as well. All of the discussions seem to be focusing on that. Don't do it, right? Unless it's a very specific target university that you're looking for. For example, Carnegie Mellon MIS, Texas A&M MIS, right? Unless it is a university are super keen on, that is top-notch brand where you can dream and get in, you have the profile for it. Avoid the WS evaluation because it's expensive, $160 to $200. You have to get your university to send the transcript to WES, then WES will have to do the evaluation and then send it to the foreign university. It takes time, it takes money. If it's just one university and that too it's safe, I would not do it, right? I absolutely would not do it. All right, last question for the day. Would you suggest taking a loan on graduating from a lower ranked universities like Texas Tech or University of North Texas? Will I be able to pay back my loan? Depending on the program, again, see, Texas Tech is sort of decent. University of North Texas at Denton, I don't know if that's the campus you're looking for. Not really. It will be a challenge, especially now with all of the rhetoric coming in with merit-based H1B, which is not a Donald Trump thing, by the way. All of you should be aware that the Biden administration has made the H1B process more stringent, because of which the number of H1B applications have fallen by half, which is a good thing, right? So when you're on an education loan, you have to go to a university where most people are reliably securing jobs overall, right? Because now you cannot do duplicate applications, like how consultancies are filing maybe even 5, 10, 15 applications on one name to give you an unfair advantage on the H1B lottery. legitimate companies that are hiring strong engineers through legitimate means will not file multiple applications. So only if you get into a legit company for a legit job will you have a good shot at the H1B. Unlike before, where everybody was just abusing the system left, right, and center. I would be a little bit more worried if I was going to universities like a Texas Tech or a University of North Texas. But again, one would argue that if it's a computer science program which sees so much demand, even a Texas Tech should fetch you a job overall, right? But it depends on the program. Like if you go and do a civil engineering from something like that, absolutely not, right? You'll be in a lot of trouble overall. So it depends. Again, I cannot say for in general. I wouldn't recommend it, but for a popular program, it might be fine. You might be able to pay back your loan, but it's going to become a merit-based H1B from now on in, right? Most likely, irrespective of which government comes into power in future. All right. So thank you so much, guys. I think there are at least 20-25 questions that I've not been able to address at this point in time due to a paucity of time. I have a 6 o'clock call that I have to prepare for, so I'm going to end this session right away. Thank you so much for the wonderful response. I think we had a great concurrent audience this time. We will try and make this a bi-weekly thing where we come on live, once every 2 weeks at least, and we are going to do it. For those of you who are evaluating MIS, Business Analytics, MIS, Business Analytics, Data Science programs, we are doing a masterclass with my co-founder Suraj, where we'll go into a deep dive of these programs, the curriculums, the career outcomes, how profiles are evaluated by admissions committees, and how you can make it to the top programs and what are the misconceptions with respect to these programs. We'll be also covering application strategy for each one of these programs, right? So you can sign up for that webinar for absolutely free. The link has been put by my colleague on our chat box, so you can copy paste that link, sign up for that webinar. You can be in touch with us through our WhatsApp group as well and ask your queries on the spot. And also always schedule a free consultation call with us at your convenience. At the time that you schedule, you'll get a call from my team. And if you don't like the call, you can DM me personally, right? But you will see the quality in that call and that advice. A lot of people have told us that you got more information on that call than they did from paid services outside. So don't lose that opportunity. Schedule your call, join our WhatsApp group, stay in touch. And trust me, Gradvine will be your biggest asset throughout your application process. So thank you so much. I hope this session was useful. And all of you have a great Sunday and rest of the week ahead.